Structure of survey and market research datasets. Understand common structures in real-world survey and market research data. Learn why dataset structure matters for business decision-making. Gain insight into best dataset formats for analytics. Identify the most common mistakes in organizing and analyzing survey responses. Discover how to explore, clean, and summarize typical market research datasets. Running the cell now. We import pandas for exploring and working with market research data. We import NumPy for handling numeric operations when needed. We import OpenML to access real-world market research datasets directly. We import Python warnings module to keep output clean. We ignore warnings so our analysis stays easy to read. Running the cell now. What are survey and market research datasets? These datasets are structured tables that collect responses from people, such as customers or survey participants. Columns may include demographics, responses to questions, ratings, open-ended feedback, or purchasing behavior. Market research datasets often combine business outcomes, like churn or purchase, with survey metrics or experimental results. Common mistakes include treating categorical answers as numeric, ignoring missing data, or misinterpreting scaled responses. Well-structured data helps you find patterns, segment users, and make business recommendations. Running the cell now. Beginner example 1, loading a customer satisfaction survey dataset. We start by loading a real customer satisfaction survey. Let us preview its structure and discuss its columns. Running the cell now. We analyze customer satisfaction as a driver of loyalty and revenue. This line loads the customer satisfaction dataset from OpenML. We get a pandas data frame with customer records and survey responses. We print the size of the dataset so we know how much data we have. We look at the first 3 records to get a feel for its structure. Running the cell now. The dataset contains 7,043 customer records with 20 survey-related columns, including demographics like gender and senior citizen, service details such as an internet service, and outcome variables like churn. Notice how the head preview reveals varied data types, from categorical responses, e.g., yes/no, to numerical charges, which highlights the diverse customer attributes we will analyze further. This initial exploration confirms successful data loading and helps set expectations for the types of features present in customer satisfaction surveys. Beginner example 2, examining common survey column types. Survey datasets often include categorical, numeric, and textual columns. Let us look at typical columns from our customer satisfaction data. Columns include gender, senior citizen, partner, dependents, tenure, phone service, etc. Running the cell now. To shape our analytics, we must understand what each column means. We print all column names to see the survey structure. We separate output for better readability. We display the data from one customer to help us understand how the survey was filled. Running the cell now. Here, we list the key columns in the customer satisfaction survey, covering categorical, e.g., gender, partner, numeric, tenure, monthly charges, and binary indicators, senior citizen, churn. The example row illustrates how these columns capture diverse customer details in one record, helping us understand the data structure we'll analyze next. Notice the mix of data types, which is typical for survey datasets and important for selecting analysis methods. Beginner example 3, loading a marketing campaign dataset. Let us load real customer response data from a bank marketing campaign. Notice how it is structured differently than a satisfaction survey. Running the cell now. Campaign success depends on targeting the right segments and analyzing customer responses. We load the marketing campaign dataset from OpenML. We rename columns so they are meaningful and easier for marketers to use. We check how many rows and columns there are in the source. We look at a preview to detect differences versus the satisfaction survey. Running the cell now. The output shows our marketing campaign dataset has 45,211 rows and 17 columns, indicating many customer records with multiple features. Notice columns like age, job, and balance describe customer attributes, while campaign and response relate to the marketing effort and its result. This structure differs from a survey dataset by focusing on transactional and campaign-specific details, helping us analyze factors influencing customer responses. Intermediate Example 1. Loading an online retail behavior dataset. Survey data may be combined with purchasing or behavioral records. Let us load and preview an online retail transactions dataset. Running the cell now. Behavior data adds context to survey insights by showing what customers really do. We load the online retail dataset from the UCI repository. We ensure that invoice dates are in date-time format for time-based analysis. We print the shape to see how large this transactional dataset is. We preview the top transactions to spot trends and column structure. Running the cell now. This output shows we successfully loaded a large dataset with over 540,000 rows and 8 key columns detailing invoice transactions, including product details, purchase quantities, prices, customer IDs, and timestamps. Notice how the invoice date column has been converted to date-time format, which is essential for time-based analysis of retail behavior. This preview confirms the data is ready for deeper exploration of customer purchases and trends over time. Intermediate Example 2. Handling Net Promoter Score NPS survey data. NPS surveys rate customer loyalty from 0, not likely, to 10, very likely. We create a sample NPS survey dataset and examine its structure. Running the cell now. Understanding NPS structure helps companies benchmark against industry standards. We generate a synthetic NPS dataset that reflects anonymized responses from several regions. We check its row and column counts for data quality. We preview a few responses to confirm realistic range and demographics. Running the cell now. The output shows our simulated NPS survey dataset has 500 rows and 4 columns, customer ID, age, region, and NPS_score. Notice the structure includes customer demographics alongside their loyalty ratings from 0 to 10, which sets us up to analyze how NPS varies by age and region in later steps. Intermediate Example 3. Open-ended customer feedback data. Some surveys include free text responses for richer insights. Let us inspect an example open-ended feedback dataset. Running the cell now. Open feedback allows us to identify customer pain points and hidden themes. We manually create a small data frame for open-ended feedback. We confirm the size so we know how many comments we are analyzing. Running the cell now. The output shows our feedback dataset has 5 rows and 2 columns, customer ID and feedback, confirming it's small and manageable for initial exploration. The preview highlights a variety of customer comments, illustrating the open-ended nature of the data that we can analyze to extract meaningful insights. This aligns with our lesson's goal to handle free text survey responses effectively. Advanced Example 1. Understanding customer cohort datasets. Cohort datasets group customers by sign-up date or behavior period, tracking retention. Let us generate a synthetic cohort table and discuss how it structures time-based analysis. Running the cell now. Cohort analysis highlights whether business improvements boost usage and retention over time. We set up a monthly range for customer sign-up cohorts. We assemble a synthetic table showing new registrations and how many customers are active each month. We check shape to confirm we cover the right time period. We spot check a few records to see the table's logic. Running the cell now. This output shows a synthetic cohort dataset with 24 monthly periods, each representing a sign-up month, and associated customer activity metrics. Notice the shape, 24 rows, 3 columns, reflects one record per month, capturing unique customer IDs, sign-up dates, and corresponding active user counts. This structure sets the foundation for time-based cohort analysis, illustrating how retention or behavior evolves across sign-up months. Advanced Example 3, Multi-table Structure and Data Dictionary Creation. Complex research projects organize datasets across multiple related tables. Creating a data dictionary helps everyone understand variables and formats. Running the cell now. A clear data dictionary prevents confusion over column meanings and acceptable values. We build a simple table showing each column, its data type, and a sample value. Running the cell now. This output shows a concise data dictionary for the df_satis table, listing each column with its data type and a sample value from the first row. Notice key columns like gender, tenure, and monthly charges, which reflect different data types such as objects, integers, and floats, helpful for understanding variable formats. This summary aids in documenting complex multi-table data, ensuring clarity on variable meanings and types for collaborative research projects. Practice, try making a similar dictionary for another dataset. Watch our channel for a hands-on tutorial on building data dictionaries. Error Handling Example 1, Detecting Missing Survey Responses. Real survey datasets often contain blank or missing answers. Let us look for missing data in the satisfaction survey. Running the cell now. Gaps in survey responses may bias your conclusions if not addressed. We count the number of missing values in each column. We report columns where one or more answers are missing for proper handling. Running the cell now. Here, the output shows no columns with missing values, indicating our satisfaction survey dataset is complete. This result helps us confirm that there are no blank responses to handle, so we can proceed confidently without needing to fill or drop missing data. Detecting such missing values is crucial in cleaning real-world survey data before analysis. Error Handling Example 2, Incorrect Grouping Segmentation. A common mistake is grouping by the wrong field, leading to bad insights. Let us see what happens if we group NPS results by an unrelated column. Running the cell now. Wrong segmentation can bury patterns or inflate statistics. We try to group NPS scores by customer ID. This does not make sense since an ID should only appear once. If Pandas raises an error, it signals an analysis design problem. We print the error to demonstrate why choosing the right grouping field is essential. Running the cell now. Here, grouping the NPS scores by customer IDs produces averages per individual customer, which is likely not meaningful for overall segmentation since NPS is designed to measure collective customer sentiment. Notice the output shows a score per customer, which could lead to misleading conclusions if used for broad analysis. This demonstrates the importance of choosing the right grouping field to avoid incorrect segmentation and flawed insights. Practice, can you group by a better field, such as a region? Error Handling Example 3, Misinterpreting Scaled Responses. Likert or NPS scales are often numeric but should be analyzed as ordered categories. Let us look at the unique survey values and summary statistics. Running the cell now. Scaling mistakes lead to false averages or lost meaning. We list each unique NPS value to check if all possible responses are covered. We use Describe to quickly spot any strange patterns or outliers. Running the cell now. The output shows all unique NPS scores ranging from 0 to 10, confirming the full scale is represented in the data. The summary statistics reveal a mean close to 5, with a wide spread indicated by the standard deviation of 3.14, which suggests varied responses. This highlights the importance of treating these numeric scores as ordered categories rather than continuous values to avoid misinterpretation in analysis. Best practices: customer segmentation, cross-tabulation, and score construction. Segmenting customers by demographics or behavior unlocks actionable patterns. Cross-tabulating responses with features highlights differences between groups. Constructing indices or summary scores creates easy-to-read dashboards. Let us segment marketing campaign responses by job type and education. Running the cell now. Segmenting by job and education helps find which groups respond to outreach. We use Pandas crosstab to count customers for each job and education combination. Running the cell now. This cross-tabulation output shows the distribution of customers' education levels across different job types, revealing key group sizes and trends. Notice how management and technicians have a high count of tertiary education, while blue-collar and housemaid groups are predominantly primary or secondary educated. This helps us identify distinct customer segments by combining demographic features for targeted marketing strategies. Best practices: time-based trend analysis with cohorts. Trend analysis shows if metrics improve over time after a product launch or campaign. Let us plot active user counts by cohort sign-up month. Running the cell now. Cohort plots highlight seasonal dips and upticks in active usage. We set up the plot size for easy viewing. We plot monthly active users, connecting each point by month. We label the x-axis for sign-up cohorts. We label the y-axis for user counts. We add a descriptive title so we remember what this plot is about. We angle labels so all dates are readable. We adjust layout so nothing is cut off. We display the plot to visualize retention and acquisition trends. Running the cell now. The line plot shows the number of active users for each cohort based on their sign-up month, highlighting trends over time. Notice how the points connect to reveal whether user engagement increases, decreases, or remains stable across cohorts. This visual directly supports the lesson's goal to track user activity and evaluate cohort performance after a launch or campaign. For more cohort analysis demos, subscribe to our channel. End-to-end example, from survey structure to business insight. Let us walk through a simple market research workflow using survey data. Question: are senior citizens more likely to churn than younger customers? Steps: segment, summarize churn rates, and make a business recommendation. Running the cell now. Comparing churn rates across age groups reveals retention gaps. We group by senior citizen flag, counting churn outcomes as normalized percentages. We check if yes is present in the churn column for proper comparison. We extract the churn rate for senior citizens. We extract the churn rate for other customers. We print the churn percentage for seniors. We print the churn percentage for non-seniors. We deliver a clear business recommendation: take action if senior churn is higher. Running the cell now. This output shows the churn rate by senior citizen status, with the table displaying the proportion of customers who did and did not churn in each group. Notice that senior citizens have a significantly higher churn rate, 41.68%, compared to non-senior customers, 23.61%, which directly informs the business insight to prioritize retention efforts on senior citizens. This demonstrates how segmenting and summarizing data leads to actionable recommendations in market research. Recap: structure enables effective market research analysis. Well-structured survey and customer data let you segment, aggregate, and extract actionable business stories. Always check for missing data, column types, and correct segmentation. Start every project with clear data documentation and a simple analysis outline. Running the cell now.